It's never too late to change your identity and never too late to chase dreams that you hadn't really given any time or thought before. I just went off on a complete tangent.
You started dedicating yourself to music.
I taught myself the ukulele, I went to Latin America, and I just started the adventure from there.
How did that trip come about?
I went to Peru with a guy I met in Zurich. One day, I didn't even know him, and I joined him in Peru and lived with his family for a month. I met so many fun musicians, fell in love with an Argentinian rock star, as you do in Mexico.
You quite literally go everywhere with the ukulele.
I just do it. I go with my ukulele, and that's all I need. I love that. To be able to just really be independent and do what you want.
Annabel, you started out deeply committed to sports, but today you're singing and traveling around the world with your ukulele. For someone hearing about you for the first time, how would you introduce yourself?
I think I would introduce myself by saying hello. Anything is possible if you have a real desire and a curiosity behind it. Coming from an athletic background and then completely changing my life around and becoming a traveling artist, the message I really want to convey is to say that it's never too late to change your identity and never too late to chase dreams that you hadn't really given any time or thought before. That's really how I would present myself to someone who's meeting me for the first time.
So why would you present yourself like that? Could you maybe take us back to your childhood, your teenage years where sports were a bigger part of your life and how that transitioned and why you had to find a new identity?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I started running track and field when I was a teenager, when I was 13 years old. And very quickly, the team noticed that I had a talent for it because I was very lean and leggy, so I could go quite fast. And I started running times that were quite fast for someone who hadn't trained at all. So then I started doing track and field because naturally, and usually in society, when you're good at something and you're talented, then you should do it, right? You should pursue it. So I started running and training every day with a goal in mind to go to university with a scholarship to run track and field. At the time, I had my eye on the Ivy Leagues, and Princeton was one of my top choices. So I visited the school, I met the coach, I ran at a race at Princeton so that they could see me and everything. And I did get recruited to run for them on the phone, at least. So I was pretty excited and pretty sure that it would work out. But then, as one knows, nothing is really 100% in life until you really have it under your eyes. And so last minute, they didn't take me and they took someone else. And I was really young at the time, and it was such a sure thing when you get recruited that you get in, that I didn't think, and my coach didn't think either, to make sure I had other backup options. So I ended up just having no scholarships, nothing. So I thought I'll just do a 360, I'll go to Scotland, and there we go. And then I adapted as best as I could. But to answer your question as to why I came to having to reinvent myself, it's not because I didn't get the scholarship. It's because I discovered I had hip dysplasia when I was 21. I got an X-ray because I was feeling a lot of pain when I was walking, and they told me that I'd used up a lot of my cartilage in my hips, and because of that, I should just stop running. I should stop all sport and just become calm. That's what my doctor told me, or get a hip replacement. So when you're 21 and you hear that you should get a hip replacement, I think that's just too soon. So I really thought, okay, what are some other passions that I never had time to develop because I was so busy training? And that's music. So I've always loved music. I used to sing in choir when I was younger. And then I just went off on a complete tangent I taught myself the ukulele, I went to Latin America, and I just started the adventure from there.
How was that for you, though, after all this time training and being amazing at running, to get this news that actually you shouldn't be doing that because of your hip? Was it an easy transition to then saying, oh, well, I have this other passion, I can just go to music instead? Or did you struggle with that?
No, I really struggled a lot. It took me years, honestly, to kind of let go of this identity, because it's so deep ingrained in you, because you train every day, 2 hours, 3 hours. It's your whole evenings. You sacrifice your schedule. You get up early. Everything is always about training. You need to eat like this. You cannot go partying. You cannot drink. You don't really have a normal teenage upbringing if you're trying to be a semi-professional runner, because there's no room for that. So then I think it was so part of my identity that then when I went to college, I started doing triathlon instead, trying to find a way to still do that much sport, but not the running, because I was so disappointed that it hadn't worked out with the scholarship. I just really couldn't cope with not having that structure of training all the time. So it took me those 4 years of college to still go through the obsessive training schedule, to eventually, after I graduated, that's when I started having this pain. And then I didn't really have a choice anymore but to slow down. And it was very hard to think, okay, now I can't train the way I want. I don't have my same routines. I had so much energy, so much. Your body is so used to this intense training. So you have to really switch gears. And I think what helped me the most with that also is starting yoga, because yoga is a way to really calm down your nervous system. And it's like the most unnatural thing to do when you come from a really sporty background, especially those kind of sports that are always asking you to be stressed, always on adrenaline, like go run now, the race has started. So it really felt like a 360, and it was super hard. And I remember... I always go into things really intensely, like I go all in. So whatever I'm going to start to do, I will go and do a lot of it. So that's what I did with yoga. And I remember one day I was with my mum, and I started to cry, and I told her, I feel like I'm losing my old self of when I used to be an athlete and a runner. And it made me really sad, So yeah, it was hard.
You had a sort of identity crisis then.
Yeah, definitely.
Initially, you didn't quite let go of the athletic part of you. I mean, you were running track, right? And then you transitioned to triathlon, which is, I don't know, but it sounds even more extreme and more intense because you have 3 different disciplines.
Yeah, exactly.
Why did you decide to make that switch initially?
I think it was trying to prove to myself that I was still a good athlete, and it was really the source of my confidence. Being a teenager, growing up, like, how good of an athlete am I? Because I was so geared to goals and how fast are you, that this is my validation. So because I didn't get the scholarship, which is a massive failure in my eyes, and my close ones, they didn't tell me you failed, but it feels like a failure. I think to compensate, I looked for something even more extreme, because it would make me kind of make up for this feeling that I failed and that I wasn't so good. So it's a bit, it's kind of weird. I mean, you're making me think about it as well right now, which is interesting. But I think it's like you go even harder in another direction to try and make myself proud, I guess. Yeah.
You described that moment as a failure. Thinking back, not getting the scholarship and ending up having a hip injury, do you look at that now as a setback? Or thinking back, do you think that might have been an opportunity?
I think now that I look back, I think I don't want to say that everything happens for a reason, because that's the classic sentence that a lot of people like to say. Also, especially when things don't go the way they want, then they say everything is meant to go this way, because that's the easiest way to tell yourself, if life went another direction. But now when I think about it, I think, yes, it is a massive opportunity, because I would have never just stopped training so obsessively, because it was so ingrained in me. I wouldn't have stopped. And that gave me so much more time, so much more free time. it enabled me to direct my energy towards something completely new and different, which is creative things, writing. I discovered dancing because I went to Latin America and I tried dancing. I mean, I would have never done all these things if I was still running and training and hitting those times. And it's just basically it opened a whole other world. So it's still tragic in a sense that, yeah, I deal with it every day, this hip problem, and it's completely forced me to change my life. But now I've learned to embrace this new version that I'm in and make the most of my energy that's not used in training anymore. Yeah.
Take me maybe to that decision where you started dedicating yourself to music. How did that happen, and how did you make that choice that you wanted to use your energy towards being creative and creating music?
So it happened in a very classic me way, in the sense that I decided to give myself a year, do like a gap year. I applied to go to a music program in the US. Like I had this whole plan to do a course and to pay this amazing thing and study and feel like, oh, I did it. I did 1 year of music. And I arrived at the school. I had done all the legal, get the visa. It was in the US. It's really complicated. And I got there and I did 1 day of classes and I changed my mind. And I said, oh my God, this is not how I want to learn music, because I felt how structured it was. And it wasn't going to teach me a new way of thinking or living. It was just going to teach me another, okay, read this note. What's this note? You got an A. And I don't want that, So I've done enough of that at school. So then I just completely changed my plans. And I went to Mexico, not planned. I went to do a yoga training. And then that's when all of the amazing, crazy musical adventures ensued. But none of my year off and decision on how to start doing music was planned. It all happened naturally. And but it also happened because I just changed my mind on initially a plan that I thought was right. And then when I got there, it didn't feel right. So I said no, and I think that that's something. Sometimes it's really hard to change your mind when you think it's the right thing with your head. But then if it doesn't feel right, I don't think you should go.
1 day to change your mind sounds like quite a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
How did you have the courage to drop it after such a short time and say, no, this actually isn't what I want, I'll try something else? I'd be terrified to do that. If I've committed, I would say, okay, I'll give it another day, maybe another week, maybe another month.
No, I know what you mean. I don't think it's courage. I don't think it asks courage. It's more, are you really, you do listen to your gut, that's the real thing. Because if you like something. When you meet someone, you'll know if you like them pretty fast. Then afterwards, with time, yes, you can get to know them. Yes, they can change your mind. But usually gut feelings are quite true from the beginning. And so the reason I could change my mind in a day is that I understood suddenly the in-person reality, like the students, the kinds of teachers, how structured, how formal, how educational this program was. And I just thought, this is not how I'm imagining that my gap year focusing on music is going to be, because I was looking for an adventure, not for just structured tests and theory, basically. So I don't think it's the courage. I think it's just about really listening to what you want, and you'll know actually really quickly if you listen. Yeah.
You went to college, you said, for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the time when you did the triathlon, right? And when you figured out about your hip injury. And the gap year happened after the 4 years in college.
So the gap year happened, it actually happened 2 years after college. It happened after 1 year of working in Paris. and then a year working in Zurich.
If you'd like to share a little bit, what happened during those 4 years in college? What did you study? Where did you end up working afterwards? Did it have anything to do with sports and music, or was it something else entirely?
So I studied sustainable development. So it's, themes about the environment and sustainability. And it was quite a general degree in the sense that I didn't come out with this like a very specific specialization. It's you just have a general master's. So that's interesting. It was a little bit depressing also to study this because you learn about the world and the inequalities and how governance is complicated and how to govern for, sustainable areas is complicated. Everything is complicated. So it's a little bit, the reality hits hard, And then I worked in a sustainable startup when I came out of university for reusable containers. So you have no plastics. That was quite nice on paper. But then I fast realized that the brands they're selling aren't sustainable. So it doesn't matter if you're just putting a jar of Nutella in a reusable container. It's still Nutella and it still has palm oil and cacao and, all the complicated things that come with that. So that was my first experience out of uni. And then I worked in Zurich in a completely different field, entrepreneurship. No sports. Yeah.
And you decided you had enough. You needed a year off to pursue music.
I didn't feel like I was connecting with the environment and the culture really of the people I was working with, because it's very academic and very structured and very organized, and that's great. But I could feel I had all this energy and this desire to go and explore and do more.
It sounds like you went from a very structured childhood to needing to break free.
Exactly.
And now no structure.
Yeah.
So when you went back to the US to pursue a musical degree, which then you ended up not doing, you went to Mexico next.
Yeah.
How did you decide to go there? What happened?
It's just because Mexico is close to California. I speak Spanish, so I thought, oh, great, I can go and practice my Spanish also. And then I found a moderately priced yoga training, so it wasn't too crazy expensive. So I went there. But I didn't research anything. I didn't research the town. I just booked it and I went.
Now, to me, that sounds scary. Like, I couldn't do that. I have to plan everything.
Yeah. I think you're really like facing the complete opposite of like the natural Swiss culture here,
Yes.
And that's also why it's such an interesting and challenging culture for me to evolve in as an artist. Yeah.
I can imagine. Take us on your journey. If we think back to that time, could you just give us an idea of what that was like?
So I first went to Mexico. It was my first time really traveling alone. So I was quite naive to begin with. So I drank from the tap water. I got sick immediately, obviously. And I didn't go to the doctors immediately because I thought, oh, it's Mexico. It's normal to have an upset stomach. But it's not. So much later, I realized I had parasites. I had to do a treatment with injections. So I really had a really horrible first 3 months, to be honest.
Yeah, that doesn't sound
It was
great.
terrible. Yeah, I really learned the hard way.
Gosh, yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, and then I met so many fun musicians, fell in love with an Argentinian rock star, as you do in Mexico.
As you do.
As you do. As you do. You have to do that. And then I went to Buenos Aires because of this Argentinian guy, because we wanted to go together. But then we didn't end up working out because it was too complicated and he was too much. So different from me. Like, it's the most different person I've ever been with in my life, like worlds apart. So then I left him, and then I was alone in Buenos Aires with no plan. And yeah, that was a bit whoa, what do I do now? And then I went to a cafe and I saw some live music and I spoke to the band. I said, can I sing a song with you? Then they let me sing a song with them. Then I made friends with them. Then I started doing shows with the whole band. And then so many things came from that. And I'm still in contact with them now. So, yeah.
Sounds like a movie.
I mean, it's sometimes I think, can I do this again? You know, because it just comes with this. Sometimes it just works and sometimes it doesn't, right? But I've tried traveling alone again since I live in Switzerland. And it's true, I feel a bit different. And now I don't know if it's because I'm getting older and I'm just less open and less like, woo, you know, anything goes. But it's true, I feel like stuff flows less in like it did that first trip. And I don't know if it's the youth or if it's because I'm like starting now to be a bit more cautious, you know, and to say, wait. Because I've done a lot of trips, you know, if I tell you how I went on them, you'd be like, what, how? I went to Peru with a guy I met in Zurich. One day, I didn't even know him. And I joined him in Peru and lived with his family for a month.
Wow.
I mean, that's so risky. What if this guy was a psychopath, you know? I didn't check. I was just like, he seemed nice. I'll go.
Well, I'm very glad we're sitting here today, that everything worked out.
No, but I'm just saying, you know, so I don't think I would do that now. You know, I think
Please don't. Please don't.
Somehow I've changed also, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One big thing that seems to be very important is your ukulele.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
So tell us a little bit about that. When did you start learning to play this instrument? Why the ukulele?
It's a good story. I started in COVID. I was living with a musician at the time, just us two, in this crazy house, because basically all his flatmates had left because it was shut down, quarantine. So everyone went home except us. So we had this mansion in Scotland, so random. And he was a musician. He played guitar, violin, and I asked him to teach me guitar because I've always wanted to learn an instrument. And he tried, and I couldn't. I found it so hard. It's so big, and the muscle memory in your fingers. I mean, it really takes a lot of time. So he told me, you should try something easier, the ukulele. I have one. So he lent me his tiny little ukulele, and I started on that. And I really sucked, you know, since the beginning. It was very hard. And I just stuck with it. And it does mean so much to me, the ukulele, because it's one of those things that I stuck to it even though it was hard. I completely taught myself, which is super empowering because, you know, you did it yourself, perseverance. And what I really love about it is that it enables me to travel the world and to have this thing like a tool that I know I can whip it out and create beautiful moments, and people will open up to me because that's what music does. And that's a superpower. And it's not the same if you're a singer and you have a guitarist accompanying you, and everywhere you go, he has to accompany you. Like here, I just do it. I go with my ukulele and that's all I need. And I love that, to be able to just really be independent and do what you want.
And you quite literally go everywhere with the ukulele. I saw an amazing video of you on the Rainbow Mountain in Peru.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Have you been?
No, I have not. But it does look amazing, I have to say.
Yeah.
How did that trip come about?
So that's the trip I was telling you about, where I met a mariachi. So you know the mariachis, they're like the Mexican folklore singers. And I met him at Lake Zurich one day, sunny day. I just played with them randomly, again, completely random. And then we stayed in touch. We had each other's WhatsApp, and I was in Buenos Aires, fast forward. And I was feeling like, it would be nice to go somewhere else. I messaged him and he said, you should come to Peru and sing for my mother's 93rd birthday. Do you want to come? And I said yes. So I went to Peru with him. And at the time I was producing and writing my first original songs. And then we went together to the Rainbow Mountain to make the music video. And that day I was actually really sick that I filmed that video.
You can't tell. I would have
You
had
thank
no
God.
idea.
You can't tell because, there's voice, like the voice is put over the video, right? But actually my voice was completely gone. So I'm just like on the outside, I look fine, but I was actually really sick and I had to get up at 6 a.m. to go up this mountain. It was quite the crazy trip.
What inspires your music? Because you said back then you were just starting to write. What do you write about? What kind of music do you make? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, so my music, I started writing in Mexico. So the first song I wrote was about Gaston, that Argentinian guy I fell in love with. A lot of the music at the beginning that I started writing was a lot about him, I have to say, like, fights, love. But then I started writing about to my family members. So I wrote a song for my mother, one for my grandmother who passed, one for my father. So, and then it started being this way of saying things that bother me or that I want to work on in the relationship. And you say it through a song. So it's not as direct. So it's like such a great way to put really say what you want, but you say it a bit in metaphors. So it's not so clear, oh, who is this about? What is it about? And then it's a great cathartic way to get stuff off your chest. So for me, writing songs is super therapeutic. It just helps. I think having a therapist is amazing. And I haven't really invested in one so much because I find it expensive. And sometimes I'm like, oh, do I really want to invest that much money? But when I write my songs, it's free and I'm therapizing myself. And then we have a great song. So my best songs come from the most like toxic or messed up moment. And then you get the best songs. Yeah.
You were saying that it's a way to communicate something that is maybe hard to tell someone in person. Mm-hmm. While you say it's easier to do that, it still puts you in a really vulnerable position.
Totally.
What is that like for you to then perform those feelings and emotions?
So I used to feel like that a lot. So I think when you start writing and you're a new songwriter, you feel much more vulnerable. But now with time, as I've evolved and I've done hundreds and hundreds of concerts, you start to detach emotionally from your songs. So some of it is technically it's a little bit sad if you think about it, because you think, oh, you're not feeling it as much as before. But I think it's like with everything in life. At the beginning, you feel it so much more. And then with time, you have a different relationship with it. So I think now I have a different relationship with my songwriting and my songs. And, but whatever, I still stand by the fact that I love music. I love how it opens up people. And I still want to keep writing and singing always. Yeah.
Obviously, music has accompanied you throughout your life. You said you sang in a choir as a child.
Yeah.
When did it become something you felt like you had to share? Because you started learning to play the ukulele, you started traveling, and at some point that turned into actually performing for people and using that as a tool to connect with others. When did that switch happen?
Yeah, I mean, so I think when I started writing my own songs, I mean, that changes everything. Because when you're just singing covers, you don't connect with the songs as much. I mean, in order to deliver a song well, you always have to connect with the lyrics, always. That's 101 of singing well, because then you can deliver emotion. But I think when I started writing, then I was scared to start sharing this. Yeah, like what you said, don't you feel vulnerable? Of course I felt vulnerable. And it was years ago now. So I was younger, I was shyer, I was less experienced. So everything was a bit scary. But this is where I have this side to my personality where I actually love like being a bit of a daredevil and going into my zone of discomfort, because I think that's how you grow and that's how you expand your mind. When you go in spaces that are uncomfortable, then you realize it's not so bad after all. And then you have a new zone of discomfort. And then you have a new zone of, and you keep going until nothing scares you anymore, except, jumping from a cliff or things like that. But you know what I mean.
Yes. Don't try that.
You're like,
don't make that your
"No."
new don't make that your new zone of discomfort.
I knew that you
feel
were
you
going
have
to say
to.
that. Stay with us.
Please, please. Something else I've learned about you is you don't only perform yourself, but you also create a stage for others to perform and give especially women an opportunity to be in the spotlight and sing and share their music.
Yeah.
Tell us about your idea behind that and why that's important to you.
So I started doing open mics when I got to Zurich because I was trying to recreate this warm community feel that I got when I was in Latin America with music. Because when I came to Zurich, I struggled to find that immediately. So that's why I started my open mics. But then I started to think about, I'm a singer-songwriter. I always play alone because I have my ukulele, and I want to grow a supportive community around me, and not that's, as a woman, a lot of times you just get supported by men sometimes, and it's because they're not actually supporting your music. They're trying to obtain something else. So that's why I came up with the idea. I started with a friend of mine, Clotilde, and we both were voicing this thing that we just don't see enough women in the music scene. And when you go to a jam, there's always men, only men, and you have like 1-2 singer. But you don't see like more women. So we wanted to change that and create a space only for women on stage, which is how Women on Stage was born. And it's with an X, so it's an inclusive event as well. So you can have non-binary artists, trans artists. It's not, it's really open. And so for me, this space is super special because this is where it feels like a really safe space for the artists. They can come and share their story. The public is very supportive. They come because they want to support the artists. And with time, this has evolved. And now it's also has entrepreneurs in it and painters also. So basically every month, I create this showcase where I showcase artists, entrepreneurs, and then a painter. And then we put it all together in one room. And so, yeah, it's super exciting. And what makes me happy about this is that it's just about celebrating the women's essence and art and not anything else. And it's about natural connections, natural networking, and everybody just needs to talk to each other, period. Because I don't want to say in Zurich, but in general, when you're a singer-songwriter and you work, this is your job, and you do gigs, you go, you play, you leave. That's it. No one talks to you. You don't actually connect. You don't get to tell them about what you're singing or why you love singing. So it's actually surprising, right? Because you would think as a singer, oh, you meet so many people. You just, you're connected to everyone. No, actually, it can be very lonely. And so I tried to fix this with Women on Stage so that you can have a supportive environment and always meet new friends and come and shine.
That's a really cool idea. I really
Thanks.
like it.
I can't wait to see you at one of our auditions.
Yes, I've yet to come to one of your auditions. It's true, but hopefully soon.
Yes, and you can also pitch and tell them about So It Goes and say what you do.
It sounds like you have also quite an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yes.
Need to create not just music, but also events and other things. Where does that come from?
That's a really good question. I mean, that's deep psychology. I don't know where it comes from. I think it comes from the fact that I've always enjoyed doing things my way, and also sometimes a bit the harder way as well. Like, you could make things a bit easier for yourself sometimes and really have stability under your feet. Like all these years I was in Zurich, I never took a side job, and I should have, to have that salary to support myself and not be stressed. But I didn't, because I wanted to really do what I want and what I love and have all my time doing the projects I want. So why do I have this creative entrepreneurial spirit? I think it makes me feel alive. It makes me feel that I'm creating something that's a reflection of my spirit. And then I believe that the more you have people who really do what they want in the world, then everybody is better off, because everyone is more happy because they're really doing what they want. It's not because someone is telling them you have to have these deliverables by the end of the day. And then everyone inspires each other more as well, because the more you're aligned with what you deeply want and you're actually doing it, I think it's better. Yeah.
How do you think you can figure out what you want deeply? Earlier, you were talking about your gut feeling, that you kind of know intuitively what you like and what not, but sometimes it's not so easy. How have you figured that out for yourself?
That's really such an insightful question, because you're right, it's really hard. And I'm not going to say just sit in lotus position and close your eyes and you will find the answers. At least I haven't reached that level of yoginess to do that. I wish it were that simple. But I kind of do by trial and error, honestly. That's why I've done all these different things and I just go for it. The more I think about things and the more I have to plan and think specifically, what are you going to do and what will you get out of it, and you analyze it, then you actually, you can talk yourself out of doing a lot of things easily. Because sometimes you just need to go for things, try it. Okay, you do a little bit, you learn from that, and then you'll know when it's also time to move on to the next thing. But this natural loop of trying, learning, this sparks new ideas, you meet new people. And I think this constant flow, it's very important to find yourself. And I think sometimes it's hard, especially in very organized, structured places. It's hard to listen to yourself because you can't. You always have to know what you're doing. What's next? You know how many people ask me that? So what's next now? And I say, well, I'm trying to figure it out. Divide from this pressure that society puts on you to always have a concrete plan. Even though plans change all the time, you get to this concrete plan. What if it doesn't actually fulfill you? You're just going to stay in this concrete plan because that's what you said you would do?
So, Annabel, what's next? No, I won't ask.
Oh my God.
No, we'll skip that question. I didn't actually want to ask that. Something else I do want to ask is, you've written so many great songs. For someone who's learning about you for the first time and hasn't heard any of your songs, which is the first song they should listen to that best maybe describes you or your personality? I know you've written many songs, so it might be difficult to choose
No,
one.
I have one in mind.
Perfect.
I actually want to sing it. Can I?
No. Of course.
Oh my God.
I see you have your
I thought you were
No.
I'll sing it to you. So this song is I think the most it's the most me, I would say. It's the song I identify with the most. It's called Jaula Imaginaria, and it is in Spanish, but I can explain the idea and the meaning behind it. So I wrote it a while ago. I wrote it 2 years ago when I was in the plane coming back from Argentina. I was super heartbroken about Gaston, classic, a little bit of altitude, a little bit of heartbreak makes a great song. And I wrote this song, and the title means imaginary cage. So I basically describe what it was like to fall in love with him and then to feel like he really wanted to possess me, because he was quite possessive. And then I say it's a bit of a self-defining song. I say that I'm a wild bird, so you cannot really put a wild bird in a cage. So that's what I initially wrote this about. But now that years have passed and I'm not sad about this anymore, it's actually created I've grown with the song, and I want to give it a new meaning. So the imaginary cage, I think it's about your mindset. So sometimes in your head, you think, no, I can't do that. Oh, this is not possible. Me go to Brazil? No, why? What? No, I'm scared. not that I want to go to Brazil. It was an example. But I'm just saying that, so now I've given it the meaning that I think you are a wild bird. It's not just me. I want it to be a message for my listeners that you are a wild bird. And if you want to fly away and you want to look for new places, new horizons, new passions, you can. And it's in your power because you have the wings. And everything else is an imaginary cage.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Okay.
Soy un pájaro salvaje con plumas cansadas del viaje que viene y que va, ligeras como seda. Flotando en el aire me lleva la corriente buscando pa' siempre mi paz interna. Y ese día me capturaste con una guitarra y una caricia. Fuiste mi jaula imaginaria, probando mi esencia. Toda mi dulzura, pero no se puede capturar el olor de las rosas, o el humo de un cigarrillo. Mi risa o mi atención, pero yo te guardo en esta canción. No toques mi melodía, déjala intacta.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening.
My pleasure. Thank you for the private concert. It's not every day that I have someone playing for me. So that was really nice.
Of course. Thank
Annabel.
you. Thanks for letting me share my essence. Yeah.
Absolutely. So for those who want to learn more about your essence and hear more, where can they find your other songs?
So Spotify is great. Annabel Personeni, my full name is good. And then if you follow me on Instagram, you can find everything, my YouTube channel, my podcast, everything.
Amazing. Is there a song you're currently working on?
So it's a good question. At the moment, I'm not as creative and I'm not writing as much because I don't feel as much in the flow state. But recently I wrote a new song, which I really loved, Clear Conscience. That one's going to come out in about a month, I would say, on Spotify. But yeah, we'll see if life throws things at me that I can write about.
Annabel, thank you so much for being here, for coming to my podcast. It was a true pleasure. Got a free concert, learned so much from you. And I think one lesson I'll take for myself from you is to not be too structured, because being in Switzerland, it's very easy to be. And I'm so curious and excited to see all that you're going to do next. But I'm not going to ask what's coming up next.
Please don't. But yes, thank you so much for having me. Really, it was a pleasure. I love what you're doing. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So it goes.
So it goes. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing.